Hey everyone, it's Casey Nicole, and today I'm going to take you through a quick practice where we're going to focus on opening and releasing and a little bit of mobility into the feet, the ankles, the calves, and the Achilles. Most of the emphasis is going to be just on the feet, but we're getting the rest of that just to kind of loosen everything up. I would recommend having 2 blocks as a just in case, especially if you're really tight in the ankles. It can help to provide a little bit more space. So on that note, we're going to start in a seated position, soles of the feet together, knees open up wide. Feel free to sit up onto a block to lift the hips if you want a little bit more space here. Hands resting at the feet, shins, ankles, or knees, whatever feels best. Lift your spine, just a couple breaths here together. Exhale, let everything go. Through the nose, take a slow breath in. Fill up all the way from the belly to the ribs, all the way up into your chest and shoulders, holding here. And then open up your mouth and let it go. Inhale slowly through the nose, fill up belly, ribs, chest, holding at the top of the breath. Open up the mouth, release. One more through the nose the whole way. Slow inhale, fill up, low belly, ribs, chest, fill your upper back, holding at the top. Through the nose, exhale, slowly release the breath all the way back out. Let's go ahead and gently blink open through your eyes. Now stay as you are in this butterfly shape, but just take your hands, bring them to the insides of your feet, and just use your thumbs to the inner arches, maybe into the pads of the feet, and just start to give yourself a little massage. If you're not sure what you're doing, don't worry. Just create little circles, little kneading into the feet. We're just waking them up, really. Okay. Now, once they're a little more awake, let's take the hands to the outer knees, lift them up, and then extend your legs out. Give them a good little shake. So we're going to focus a little bit on the different movements of the feet and the toes. So you can stay dropped back onto your hands, and that way there's no pressure on your lower back or pelvis. Now, keep your spine long. We don't want to slouch. We want to keep ourselves long and lifted. But the focus here, we're going to draw the toes back and feel the heels draw forward. So you're getting length into the hamstrings. You might even feel your heels kind of float off the ground. If they don't, no worries. So this is a full flexion. Now you're going to keep your ankles bent, but curl your toes into a fist. Toes into a fist. Now keep your toes into a fist, but extend your ankles. So now you're in a full point, that full extension. Keep your ankles straight. Start to pull your toes back. This one can be a little challenging. Your toes are going to want to spread open nice and wide. Let them. Then we're going to bend the ankles again, full flexion. We're going to go through that same process. It's really good to help move the toes and the ankles independently. So as the ankles stay bent, curl your toes into a fist. Then extend your ankles, full point. And then keep your ankles straight. Pull the toes back. Try to spread them wide. And then rebend. Okay, let's go ahead and find big circular motions for the feet, whatever direction. And then switch the direction. So if you were going clockwise, you're now going counter. Perfect. Let's sweep the legs around, come into a tabletop position. We're going to focus a little bit now on how the feet help move into the hips. Okay, so the feet either kind of stop movement or they can help add to the movement. I'm going to get off my mat a little bit here just so you can see more clearly. From tabletop, let's take the right leg and kick it out to the right side. With the right leg out to the right side, keep your hips stacked over your left knee, okay, or left hip over left knee. And just begin to sink your hips back towards the back heel. Keep your right foot planted and just notice how that feels. Okay, notice any limits in movement. Now as you sink back, now roll up onto the heel toes up and see if you can sink back even more. More space gets created because the foot helps to alleviate some of that pressure or that grounded sensation. Now let's bring it forward through the hips, roll the foot back down. Now walk the hands slightly forward, hips come slightly forward. You can even kind of sink the hips in a little bit. Notice how that feels. Now, lift your heel, roll onto the toes. You're going to notice your toes kind of pivot. And as they pivot, your body naturally wants to turn to the left. You can even walk your hands a little to the left and sink the hips. Notice how much space gets created just by moving the foot. The hips can now move and pivot and move with the foot. Now let's bring it back to center. We're going to go one more round. Sink the hips back, roll up onto the heel. Bring your hips forward, plant the foot, roll up onto the toes, maybe walk the hands a little to the left, maybe sink into the hips. Bring the hips back, walk the hands back in, plant the foot, and then let's bring it back. Shake it out. Okay, I'm going to switch directions here. Left leg kicks out to the left side. Keep your right hip over your right knee. And let's slowly sink the hips back towards the back heel. Feel that out first with the foot planted. And then roll up onto the heel, toes angle up. Notice if you're able to sink in a little bit more. If not, no worries. Let's come forward, plant the foot, walk the hands forward. And as you do, maybe sink the hips just a little bit. And then lift the heel, come up onto the toes, feel them pivot. Maybe walk your hands a little to the right, follow the opening of the hips, maybe sink the hips. Pull the hips back, ground the foot, sink towards the back heel, and then roll up onto your left heel. Bring it forward, plant the foot, pivot, lift the heel, pivot on the toes, maybe walk the hands to the right, sink the hips. And then let's bring it back, plant the foot, and then bring the foot in. Shake it out. Okay, let's walk the knees and the feet together and tuck the toes. As you tuck the toes, let your hips sink in the direction of the heels. They do not have to touch, but just feel the general direction. Okay, if they don't touch, you might want to just stay right here. If they do touch and you want more weight, you can walk the hands back, putting more and more weight into the feet. You can even walk the hands all the way up into your lap. Wherever you are, give yourself a few breaths. Okay, open up your eyes. If you're up, you can take your hands down. We're going to keep the toes tucked, but we're going to lift the knees off the ground. Walk the hands in. You can also take your hands up onto blocks to add a little bit of space away from the ground. Okay, hands walk in. Try to bring one hand to your heart. Try to bring both, or hands can stay on the ground or down onto your blocks. Try to get the spine nice and tall. And what we're doing is we're starting to bring a little bit of awakening into the ankles, the feet, those stabilizing muscles. Wherever you are, give yourself another breath. Hands come down if they're lifted, walk them forward, drop the knees, untuck the toes, create a little fist with your feet, and then just tap them on the ground. Okay, now with the legs together, untuck the toes, and you're just going to sit back onto the heels, coming into a hero's pose. Now, this is a position that might not feel good on the knees to have them fully flexed and with your pressure downward. So you can take 1 or 2 blocks in between the feet and just prop the hips up a little higher if that helps, okay? Use only what's needed. So try 1 first. If you need more, add more. The blocks also can be adjusted in height to accommodate your needs, okay? Once you're here, just sitting in this position might be a lot for the tops of the feet and the ankles, especially if they have a hard time fully extending, okay? So if this is too much at any point, take your hands forward or lift the hips up and come back in as you can, okay? Otherwise, stay here, long and lifted, or drop the hands back. As the hands drop back, you can stay here or slowly peel the knees off the ground, maybe a little, maybe roll all the way up onto the ankles or onto the feet. Feel your appropriate amount of depth and opening for yourself. Give yourself a few breaths. Slowly roll the knees down if they're lifted, hands come forward. And then from here, you can tap your feet on the ground, however it feels best for you. All right. Take your right knee, lift it up, and you're going to bring it into the back of your left calf muscles, and you're going to just start digging around in there. Start digging, feeling. Notice those sweet spots or not so sweet spots. And once you find a good one, let yourself just sink heavy into it. Your right knee gets real heavy. And you can either keep the right knee exactly as it is, or maybe you want some movement. You can bend and straighten that top leg. You can create little circles. You're really just digging in there. These ones are so good. Couple more breaths. And then release your right knee back down to the floor. We're going to stretch the left leg back, tuck the toes on the ground, reach back through the heel, getting a little bit of lengthening. You can stay here, or you can even lift the hips up and back. It's like a downward dog, but your right knee is deeply bent and driving your left heel in the direction of the ground. If you want a little bit more into the calf and Achilles, imagine lifting your toes away from the ground, not your heel, your toes. As your left toes lift up, press the ball of the foot down and imagine sliding the ball of the foot towards the back of the mat. And that way you're going to get a little bit more opening into the lower part of the leg. And then come back down onto your knees. Other side, left knee up. Go ahead and bring it into the back of the right calf muscles and just start digging around. Feel what you got in there. How many little tight, tender areas are there? Once you find a good one, let yourself be with it. Slow your breath down. Make sure you're not holding it. You're keeping it moving. And then maybe just feel the knee sink heavy into that knot. The breath is helping to alleviate some of that tension. And you can either keep your left leg nice and still, or you can add little bits of movement, bending, straightening, maybe little circles. All right, go ahead and release your left knee down, stretch your right leg back, tuck the toes, reach through the heel. Stay here or lift the hips up and back like a downward dog, driving the heel direction of the ground. And then maybe feel your right toes lifting up, pressing the ball of the foot down into the ground, and energetically imagine sliding it towards the back of the mat. Slowly lower both knees. Go ahead and tap the feet. Sweep the legs around, come into a comfortable seated position. And from your seat, just use your hands and just kind of knead a little bit into the calf muscles. Just help soften them up a little bit, especially if there's excess tension in there. Let's open up the feet a little bit and do the same thing with the feet. Just a little squeezing and releasing. Okay. Now, from your cross-legged seat, spine up nice and tall, take your hands to your heart, take a deep breath in. Open up the mouth and let it go. Thank your bodies for all that they do for you. Thank you for allowing me to guide you. Open up your eyes whenever you're ready. So the feet can be one of the tightest areas of my entire body. So I love giving extra focus and emphasis into opening up the feet and working those stabilizing muscles to not only be strong, but also to be open as well. I'd love to hear your feedback in the comments, and I'm looking forward to practicing with y'all again soon. Thank you.